All right. Oh, that's the wind, y'all. That's the wind. Yeah. It was like, I know, I thought it was too. I was like, wait, I just paused it. What's going on? Whoa. Whoa. Yeah, so if anybody needs to like go to the bathroom or get water, or like do whatever you need to do, feel free. Yes. I love
ritual craft.
No, but I have heard of ritual craft. And I have some friends that do like sound healings and stuff there. Calderon and Sammy, they're really beautiful indigenous healers, and they do like sound baths and like they hold like space for community. So I've been wanting to link up with that place. That's one of the places that I've wanted to connect with. Absolutely.
Yeah.
One
My
day.
counselor told me about it. So I went, there's somebody that does like the aura pictures.
Nice.
I'll show you some.
Two. She really needs some water. She'll probably throw some water quick.
Yes, yes. Thanks.
Sorry, I'm just, are you done with your work? Yeah. They're depressed because why? Right. Oh, everything. It's kind of like the drones situation.
We only.
Who was it? Chad Irish, who plays the drama before me. He did a, yeah, he did a piece. I know.
He's a Jeff, Chad,
Yeah, exactly. I know. I think you want to say it. But he has a new piece that he wrote at poem. Where he gets up with this thing and he like puts it together while he's telling the poem. But it's like basically a device he made to sound like a drum.
Yeah.
That's what the whole.
Yeah, that's.
Oh, did he do it? Oh, good, yeah.
He did it.
Oh, yeah, you were thinking that. Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it went to.
I know all the night.
Sorry.
I always have trouble remembering like which sleep song or something are done. I'm like, no. All right. Almost there.
The wind blowing against the building is so eerie.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds like maybe we're just talking.
It does. I know. About. But yeah, you can really see like how far, if you look at the sun, like that's how far the sun will move. It moves 1 degree each day, the sun does. So you can see that it's almost to where the new moon sun will be.
What's the sun illustrate?
The sun is solar power. So the sun and the moon are the two luminaries to begin with, okay? So they represent kind of the energy that moves through and shines on and off of other planets in a lot of ways. They illuminate or bring light to things. The moon in a different way, because it just receives the sun's light and reflects it. But the sun is like the source of the light. And so that represents you, your body, your space, the way you look, the way you appear to the world, like your raw being, the coding of who you are and that you came here with to shine forth. Your vital energy. So your chi.
Righteous.
Mhm.
So it means that like, okay, so if the sun is in Leo, it means that Leo energy is mixing with the energy
So the
of
function of your like being yourself
yeah.
takes on the qualities of the sign of Leo. Leo is fire. And Leo is like it's fixed fire, so it's like managing the element of fire. It represents a leader. It represents the ego as well. So like a leader, depending on their ego, can present in very different ways, right?
Hold on. So Leo is fixed. Does that mean Aries is?
Aries is cardinal fire.
Card-
Mhm. And
That's-
Sagittarius is mutable fire, so changeable fire.
That makes no sense.
So cardinal, fixed, and mutable is cardinal is the initiation of the cycle. Fixed is you're managing what you've started. And then mutable is what you started is now over. And you're analyzing what has happened during the cycle,
Yeah.
which will guide you into the next action or cardinal
So
part
Taurus
of the
is
phase.
fixed.
Taurus, let me look at for Earth. So Capricorn is cardinal Earth.
Yes.
That's my sun. And so the way that you do it, I guess I can point up here. I can show you my tiny screen here. So there's Capricorn, which is cardinal Earth. And then the next will be fixed Earth.
Okay.
And then Scorpio would be that mutable, that analytical, obsessive Scorpio energy.
I do feel that the like when you judgment.
Judgment.
Yeah, from Scorpio.
Mm. Yeah. It's like focused water. It can be very poisonous
Yeah.
and toxic, which can be like a medicine. And that's the dichotomy of Scorpio. Like a little bit of poison is medicine and too much medicine is poison.
What if you have like a, no, ours.
Then your sense of when you assert yourself and when you don't is having that Scorpio quality of
Whoa, wait, that makes so much sense.
Mhm. Yeah, we'll get into it like individually. Mhm. We'll get into it all individually.
I'm just trying to like. Study.
The wind, y'all.
It sounds
And yeah, like, it's.
Wow. Where my cousin?
I think we, most of them. That really got her. Yeah. They have like road functions that, like they have videos. So you're like, then sometimes the video, that day, it's different. So, but.
I'm gonna start talking. Do you mind if I start talking? I'll just talk about. Perfect. But they look amazing, you guys. Sarah made a whole ass cake. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and start our new moon in Leo transit report on today, which is July 22nd, 2025 at 7:21 p.m. Yeah. Yeah, feel free to move around if you want to see better or differently. So this is the chart for the new moon. all the black symbols on the inside is where everything will be on at the exact peak moment of the conjunction or alignment of the moon and the sun. You can see that they're both at 2 degrees of the sign of Leo. And they're exactly opposite to Pluto, which is at 2 degrees of Aquarius. And if you've been hanging out with me for a minute, you've heard me talk about Pluto into Aquarius a lot, because I'll give you a reminder that the United States of America just had its Pluto return. So about 250 years ago, Pluto was right back at the beginning of Aquarius at the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So Pluto has gone around us one complete time since that occurred. And Pluto represents death and rebirth. So we have a total like rebirthing process of our entire conceptualization of our country that we are a part of, right? And so we see all this kind of rising up and protesting and political unrest, but also just kind of like a rejuvenation, I feel like, of, what our country can be and what we can represent. But it's this whole new earth idea, right? We're all rebirthing like a new way of being human. Our species is due for an evolution. Richard Rudd talks about this in the Gene Keys a lot, with the degree that represents the dragonfly, which if you look at the lifetime of a dragonfly, it's kind of like a frog. Like it really evolves throughout its lifetime. And we just happen to be living in a time that scientifically our species is due for an evolution. So we're seeing a lot of genetic things happen, ways to kind of like hack our genetics and ways to understand how we can treat our body in such a way that we would treat a garden, that we're actually kind of cultivating a space within ourselves that allows for peak genetic performance, if you will. And it's like a whole totally different paradigm of being human in that way, and in many ways. But it's interesting that this particular new moon has the sun and moon opposite Pluto. So in the chart, when things are across from each other, you see that red line that goes across, that's an opposition because it's 180 degrees directly across the circle. These shorter red lines are squares. Those are 90-degree angles. Okay. The blue lines are soft aspects. The red lines are hard aspects. The red lines tend to represent challenges and tensions in the chart. And the blue lines tend to represent gifts, whether they are gifts that we're aware of or gifts that maybe we're unaware of that we might be discovering with the shorter blue lines. So this 180-degree aspect represents one axis of the chart. So you have Leo, the sign of Leo, directly across from the sign of Aquarius. And just like every sign or constellation of the chart has kind of a dichotomy, a positive and a negative and a balanced aspect, the sign across from it also has a positive, a negative, and a balanced aspect. And so what we're looking at is like a grand opposition of two separate oppositions. Okay, so when you talk about like the wheel as a medicine wheel, what my mother explained to me is that the dichotomies of one side of the wheel can often be the resolve for the dichotomies of the opposite side of the wheel. And so what we're dealing with this new moon, and the reason why I chose to put a crown on the flyer, is because Leo represents leadership, ego, determination. It's that powerful, like, image of the lion, the chief, the head of the pack, people that are standing up right now and standing out and guiding and leading, which can show up in positive or negative or balanced aspects. So you look at somebody like Trump, somebody like Alex Jones, somebody like that really like stands forward with this like egoic, like definitive, you look at somebody like Napoleon or like Hitler or what's that Ani DeFranco song? Everyone is a fucking Napoleon. Like we all have that side of ourself that guides our own ego to be very firm and set in its ways. The other, and that's kind of like can be negative or positive, right? Because sometimes like you have to be strong in your convictions and you have to believe in yourself in order to feel willing to step forward and be sure-footed when you're trying to realize your intentions or meet a goal. The other side of that, the negative aspect of it, is when you become so egoic that you're now stepping upon other people, you're destroying others or yourself, usually both at the same time. And then the balance of that is learning to know when do you need to call for your ego and when can you let your ego take a back seat, right? And it's completely unique for each person. And we'll look at where that is in your chart. But opposite of the sign of Leo, which is the rulership, the leadership, the guidance from outside of yourself or even from within yourself, that need for guidance in general. Opposite of that is Aquarius. Aquarius represents liberation, sovereignty, rebellion. It represents innovation, invention. So these are the ideas on the opposite end of this axis that counterbalance those ideas of guidance and leadership, dictatorship, aristocracy, all of those things that can be in Leo. We find liberation, right? So right now our country is really like trying to find a way to liberate from this capitalist, democratic sort of defined system that we find ourselves in. And so we're all trying to navigate how to do that. And everybody has their own ways that they need to get free and their own ways that they need to liberate and their own ways that they need to seek guidance and their own ways that they need to break free from the aristocracy or the patriarchy. And it's a very delicate balance for each individual person because the way that you handle that dictates how you might feel free or how you might feel dictated. So with the sun and the moon at 2 degrees of Leo, we're looking at the interplay of the functions of the moon and the functions of the sun when it comes to those ideas of rulership and leadership and guidance in life. So the moon and the sun are the two luminaries. I was speaking to that a little while ago. The sun represents your raw being, your coded being, your DNA, who you came onto this plane as before you were affected by the environment that you came into. So it's like before you even are like receiving the environment. This is just who the fuck you are. The moon represents your reception of the environment. So it involves your emotions and your hormones. So now you're here and you're witnessing the environment and you're receiving the environment. And what is your raw being have to say about that? Like, what is your then development of how you grow into being who you are affected by the environment? So what nurtures you? How do you nurture things in the environment? what sparks an emotional response for you in the environment. You know, what are your, like people would say, triggers, which can be positive or negative triggers. It can also be what makes you laugh, what makes you feel safe, what makes you feel attracted, what makes you feel all of the things, right? So the whole spectrum of emotional experience that you can have is unique because it's the way that your raw being programmed to then meet the world that you've come into. And so how does our sense of guidance and leadership, whether that's external guidance from your parents, your teachers, your mentors, your politicians, your community leaders, your professors, your parents, older siblings, anybody that has ever led or ruled you, the way that you receive that is going to be dictated by who you came here as, which will have something to do with your past karmas. Whether you believe in past lifetimes and like reincarnation and things like that, or whether you want to look at it as an ancestral imprint that you have on your DNA, which we now know that ancestral trauma is very present in our genetics. So that's another way to look at your past karmas with the South Node. So all of those past karmas that you carry in your genetics and that you experience through the early environment of your family and your communities and your cultures, all of that has to do with how you view leadership and how you view roles of guidance and how you're taught to guide yourself. If you're even taught to guide yourself, in most cases, we're taught to be guided by some book that somebody wrote hundreds of years ago, or, you know, whatever the thing. We're taught to be guided. And so we come into an age where we get back in touch with our raw being. And by doing this work that we're doing with the new moon, it's a really good way to set intentions around understanding who you are in that respect. So some of your intentions that you already wrote down or were thinking of might connect in some sort of way in your life to your sense of rulership. And then with Pluto down here at 2 degrees of Aquarius, Pluto represents death and rebirth, transformation, transfiguration. It's that process of when something dies. How do you move then back into new life? So that can happen with an actual life of a person, but almost everything has a life cycle. So like you wake up, you do your day, you go to sleep. That's a small death. Going to sleep every night is a small death. And the dream space that you move into after that death is the dream space that would be synonymous with the afterlife, right? It's the collective unconscious. It's the collective conscious. It's that space, that dream space. Giving birth to a child. There's a cycle of birthing the child. When the child comes out, there's actually a grieving process because you are now saying goodbye to the you that existed without a dependent, right? So we experience this in so many ways. Relationships have a life cycle. People call sexual orgasm a small death within the life cycle of an encounter of sexuality with somebody. And if that's a long encounter, then all of those are small deaths within the context of the relationship. So there's a death and rebirth process that's been happening with our sense of the qualities of Aquarius. So our sense of liberation and sovereignty, and innovation and the ability to keep inventing and renewing, and rising above what has been is very present. And that process is really helping us strengthen the function of death and rebirth as a species, as a planet, as an individual. Okay. So when we look at your individual charts, we'll look at where is your sun and moon? Where is your Pluto? in your chart? And where do you have Leo? And where is 2 degrees of Leo in your chart? And where is 2 degrees of Aquarius in your chart? There's a couple of additional things happening that if I notice that it's in your chart, I'll say something about it. If not, I might not. But we have Venus actually square to Mars. Venus is also square to this conjunction over here of Neptune, Saturn, and the North Node. At 1 degree of Aries, 1 and 2 degrees of Aries. So Neptune is the dream space that I was talking about earlier. That's all represented by Neptune. And Saturn is restrictions, boundaries, and limitations, which can look like, the containment that like holds you in if you're acting out of fear, or those boundaries can be like your pathway to liberation. And this is united with the dream space right now. So we're all experiencing a sense of moving into the early phases of Aries or cardinal fire, initiating a new way of experiencing the boundaries of our dream space. But this is square to Venus. So that's a hard aspect to Venus, which is our sensual experience, our experience of the senses, what's beautiful to us, what are we attracted to, what's attracted to us. All of that is affected by the boundaries of our dream space. And then the boundaries of our dream space and our future karmas with the North Node are also opposite Mars. Mars is how we assert ourselves and when we don't assert ourselves. So this is a T-square. We have this red triangle, okay? Mars is opposite this Neptune-Saturn conjunction. And both the conjunction and Mars are both square to Venus. So that's all happening at the same time as the new moon. And I just want to point out that it's not just happening like in a loose kind of a square, but it's like a very tight aspect. So that just means it's more exacting. There's also a lot of blue lines. The blue lines represent gifts that are coming out of these challenges and tensions. So if you kind of rise to the occasion and you're really thinking and being intentional about these things, you have the possibility of creating all of these gifts that will occur from Uranus. You can kind of see that all the blue lines point to this one spot, which is where Uranus has just moved into Gemini for the first time in many, many, many years. Your Uranus represents our individuation. So it's how we define ourselves. Like, what are the edges of who we are? What makes us who we are? Separate from other human beings? What makes us unique? What's innovative about us? What's inventive about us? And so Uranus, for that reason, is also associated with Aquarius, by the way. Every planet, every sign has a planetary ruler. So Uranus is the planetary ruler of Pluto in Aquarius because Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. So that also connects it back to what's happening with the new moon. And this blue triangle are the gifts that can come out of us really working through the intentions that we have with this thing. Okay. Chiron's just kind of like hanging out over here on the descendant. And what's significant about that is that Chiron's the wounded healer. So that's the parts of us that have been wounded and the parts of us that wound others, the parts of us that have been healed and the parts of us that can heal others. And the descendant is the part of the chart that is unseen. Okay, so our wounds and things are I don't know if you guys have noticed kind of like a lightning recently of like the energies around your wounding and healing, just like a brief, and it can change slightly if you have like a particular thing, but like in general, our wounds and healing part of ourself is kind of like in the descendant area. It's kind of like in the background. It never goes away. But yeah, it's like in a little bit of, yeah, taking a little smoke break out back by the dumpster. Um, so
We're taking a smoke break out back.
all right, okay. So all of that, we have Jupiter hanging out in Cancer up here, super happy. Jupiter expanding, Jupiter like expands everything it touches. It represents like abundance and like it's in Cancer. So, um, our ability to experience like an expansion upon like our emotional experience with Cancer. Cancer represents emotions for sure. It's like the womb space, has to do with the mother. So nurturing, we might be feeling kind of nurtured right now in some areas of our life. Just like looking at Kari, like over here, like hugging, flying with like this sweet, like nurturing hug, like, little moments like that might be kind of abundant right now. Um, yeah, let's see. And what house these are in are going to be different depending on your natal chart. It'll be in a different house for each of you, unless you have a similar placement. Mercury is also in Leo. I want to point that out. Mercury is communication. Mercury is the messenger of the gods. It's the only planet that passes in between the sun and the earth. So therefore it represents like the messenger between the sun and the earth. When you think of like chariots of fire, Mercury was often the planet that represented that. And when they first discovered Mercury, it was right when the postal service delivery services were first becoming a thing where you could send messages. And the people that were the bearers of the messages were called little Mercuries, which I think is fucking adorable. Isn't that cute? I think it would be a great like band name.
The little Mercury.
Mercury.
Yeah. So when you think of like the Mercury Cafe, right? Anyways,
Yeah.
just know they named it that for a fucking reason, right? Um, but Mercury doesn't just tell us things from the gods. It overall represents our voice to the universe and what the universe speaks to us. So that can show up in media, the news, books, magazines, little quotes that you read, like any kind of language or symbolism. Astrology itself is very mercurial. Um, Wi-Fi, information storage, information technology. Um, so therefore, like minerals and things like that, when you think of like hard drives and microchips and things of that nature. That's all files, file cabinets, bookshelves. Like it can sometimes be like very material things as well. Um, Memory, your memory. Yeah, wait, say that again. Shoe boxes, yeah, totally. Absolutely. The old school. Um, yeah, like tablets, stone tablets, right? Like, what is it? The space underneath the pyramids that they are saying is like the something of Thoth. It's like the like where all of the what is it called? I can't remember. The space that we go to access like our connection to the basically the information of the universe. What is it called? It starts with an A. I have it on my phone. Hold on. You're gonna know when you hear it. I can't not say it now. Just opened it. It has to do with the emerald tablets. I can't look it up if I don't know what it's called. Um, the Akashic records. Huh. I knew it would come to me if I just looked it up. Um, Okay, so the Akashic records would be another mercurial type of an idea that there is just this like information storage present somewhere that you can tap into to access information. It's like the memory of water, like the water itself could be like the memory of water could be an example of like an Akashic record or like fossilization, things like that. So these are all mercurial things. And Mercury is also in Leo up here. And it's not quite conjunct the sun and moon, because it's not really like within 7 or 8 degrees, but it's still in the same sign. Okay. Um, it's in a different house here, but we'll see where it is in your charts. So that is kind of where everything is right now, just for some information. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Even like if there's something that just came to mind while I was talking about all that, if you want to just like share out anything that we could collectively bring into the contemplation, feel free. Bueller. Bueller. I can tell you got something. Yeah. Yeah. So think about how you want to say it while I do this. So the colored lines are aspects, degree aspects between the bodies in the sky. So the red aspects are hard aspects of oppositions and squares. And I'll read you like the exact. So oppositions are challenges that will lead to a lesson, right? You can't get to a lesson without a challenge. A square is a tension that will lead to an action. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the long blue lines are called trines, and the short blue lines are called sextiles. So a trine is a hidden talent. Okay, so it's a talent that you've yet to become aware of that can become possible through that aspect for you to find. Whereas sextiles or the shorter blue lines are talents that you're aware of. They're not hidden talents. Talents, gifts, in spiritual practice, it would be called cities. Like in the gene keys, that's like the third step is the city. So you have like the hardship, the lesson, the gift. And that's just like the process of evolution and growth, right? So all the aspects have some element that can bring you to an evolution or a growth in your lifetime. All right. The wind is asking if you have anything to say.
And I love the word back, that's what everyone's asking.
It's okay.
I guess recently I've gotten just messages like, what are you choosing?
Mm,
You know, and like, cause it's all there. And yeah, be it like and just like you decide what is what, be it like a positive or negative.
So that sounds to me like you're finding your personal sovereignty, that the choices that you make can shape your life and that you get to play that role.
Shape or
Sometimes.
shape or break.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I was at a
absolutely.
satellite. Uh, my friend Chris, their friend was touring with Mumford and Sons, which was really great
Oh, yeah.
as like the stagecraft team. So it was like a bar full like
Mhm.
half people like from England and half people
Nice.
from America, which was like really jostling to hear like auditorially.
Yeah,
Small
yeah.
space, but nonetheless, it was cool to hear about everyone's like experience like doing that, even though it was like musicians I wasn't really into.
Yeah.
The new and there were like two like punk rocker looking people.
Mhm.
Not even looking, they had like straight up mohawks and
They were for sure.
yeah. I stepped outside to call Kari actually
Mhm.
and just see if they got home. And um the lady punker steps out and is like, "Aren't I beautiful?" And I was like, "Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
absolutely." And like she stepped, and then the dude stepped out, and she was like, "He cheated on me 7 times." And I was like,
Straight out,
I'm like, ouch.
just straight out.
Hi, my name is Sarah.
That was a curveball. I didn't.
You're like, don't bring me into this.
Yeah. She was like, "Would you cheat on me? Aren't I beautiful 7 times?" I was like,
That's actually the
I was like,
second
fam, but like
person that-
you're getting like as he's calling the Uber, you're getting in though.
Wow.
know what I mean?
She
But, like,
chose that 6
just,
more times.
Yo,
didn't
just
she?
just on the tip of like, but like also on choices like major choices. After
Mhm.
that, you drop off. There's this homie at that giant hotel that's like a bunch of eyeballs.
Oh, yeah,
You see
that like new thing, yeah.
Yeah,
It's the heart.
there's
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
whoa, check this out. The my friend Chris's homie is a yapper, so they're like chopping it up for like a long minute. And I go talk to the security, not the security, the valet, and he's like, "Yo, bro, see it up there?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Someone jumped off of there today." Yeah, and I was like,
That's heavy.
"Did he die?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like,
That's heavy.
"Yo," I was like, "Okay, give thanks first of all." And like, yeah, he showed me like the pictures of all like the tents that they cut off from like site and everything.
Yeah.
And like, yeah, I was like, man, we just started talking about stuff we're grateful for. We changed the conversation for
Yeah.
that, but like,
It's sobering, but
Yo.
life and death is that close always, right?
yeah, so it's
Like,
just
it's,
like,
yeah,
what are
every
you
choice.
choosing in life? And like, does like what you choose contribute to death? Like, do you like what you choose contribute to like what
Yeah.
is like your slow demise or your decay?
There's
Be it
something to
emotionally,
that.
spiritually, literally jumping
Yeah.
off a building.
Mhm. It's interesting because sometimes I feel like I make choices with a lot of intention like that.
Mm.
Like every choice is a life or death choice. Because I have to. Like when I quit drinking alcohol, when I, have like quit doing things in my life that I knew could lead to my death.
Mhm.
It comes down to those little moments of like, if I do this, I might do that, which might lead me to do that. So sometimes those little choices are like so critical, and this is the guidance, the need for guidance. Whether it's internal guidance or whether it's external guidance. And sometimes we need an accountability part, like an external person to help us and see us in those moments of choosing and be a reminder, or a suggestion to us. And so then it's like, who do you seek out to be your mirrors? Who do you choose to know?
Here.
Yes, who shows up? And then out of those people that show up, who is giving you an accurate, empathetic reflection of yourself, right? And this is one of the skills that has changed my life. That if I had not found it, who knows where I would be, type of a thing, right? But then there's also the opposite side of the chart, which is Aquarius, which is being sovereign and liberated in those moments where you're like, I feel properly guided enough to make this choice without a lot of deep thought right now,
Mm.
because my mind's in the right place and my heart and my soul's in the right place, you know? So I think sometimes we need both and they balance each other. And that is the energy of this new moon. Like that is exactly what, and I always love it because people don't like know, but they're like right there on it, like on the tip of that. And we all are. And when you look at what's happening in the media right now, I mean, all this stuff with like Trump and the Epstein files and the Russia hoax and the Biden administration and the Obama, like all, and the FBI, like what the fuck's happening there? And like on the world stage with like Israel and like Palestine and Ukraine and all of these places, Sudan, like all of the ideas of rulership and leadership and guidance, and it's just all bubbling to the surface. And everybody's craving this like liberated sovereign solution, you know?
Like the veil is like completely gone. And this like, oh, there is no like Epstein list. Like everybody's like, no, that's a fucking lie. Like,
Right. There
even
may
if
not
they
be a
was, like,
list, but there's a flight log, there's bank records, there's like, right? And like, this is where it's like, we're just not believing the bullshit. Like,
you can't. It's so
we're seeing through because of the social media allowing us, like, one veil that is lifted is that it used to be you couldn't see what was happening on the other side of the world. You had to read the newspaper. And who knows what was really fucking going on? Like, we have no idea. We have no idea, and we still kind of have no idea because of how far away it is and how deceptive technology can be, and social media is all the algorithms and the monetizations, and it is definitely and that's the Neptune and Saturn and the North Node over here with the boundaries of our dream space, the boundaries of what's real and what's not real.
Like how like AI is all like basically on prompts. Like
Yeah,
I started the year doing like ABA therapy, which I
Yeah.
like.
yeah,
And like what they teach you about is like prompting behavior.
mm,
And like so anytime I see like someone post art and then like kind of as a joke, someone's like prompt question mark to be like, you're an AI artist type
right.
time. And I'm just like, is AI kind of like prompting the collective unconscious and making us like codependent in that way when it comes
Right.
to intellect knowledge? Because I feel like
Mm,
creatives, expressionists in any aspect are antennae for what's already floating around. And I feel like we're kind of snipping those antennas a little bit.
mm.
Um,
But as we snip our antennas, it's created in the material world of AI.
Yeah, I mean AI.
So it's
is
like you're
us.
cutting it here, but it's
like
showing up there.
it's
It's
like
a
a
different leg.
it's like a cyclical limiter, I guess, if
Mm.
that makes sense, where it's
Mm.
just like we're just basically regurgitating like the best of our material and just revamping it in like a bunch of different ways.
Right.
That's not like, yeah, it might be intelligence, but
Mm.
like just like
Yeah.
my bad.
No. I was agreeing with you. It's like, but I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking about like depth and connection and emotion.
Yeah.
Well,
That's
it
definitely
takes
part of it.
it takes away from
Yeah.
it, but I feel like it also takes away from like evolution in a way where it's like it feels like evolution, but it's just like kind of in the same way that like human beings created tools to kind of cheat natural selection. We're doing that the same thing like somatically and spiritually with like and intellectually
Yeah.
with AI, like kind of like okay, so now we've defined feeling, the connection between feeling and meaning in every single way. So now we're just going to put it into this prompting tool. And,
Yeah.
there have been like now records of people going through like bouts of mental illness because they talk to like OpenAI and
Yeah.
whatnot. And
People falling in love with their
some of the
like
OpenAI
AI
will send
and-
false therapy credentials
right.
to like the people that are like texting the machine or whatever.
Right.
And yeah, I think it's doing this thing where there's this illusion that everything's going really fast,
Mhm.
and it's not. Like
Right.
I think in our body we know that it like, yeah, of course we're on a
Mhm.
big old spinning rock. And then
Humans have always looked for an external source of resolve. And so AI is just another example, as has been media, as has been drugs, as has been sexuality, as has been religion. This source that we will like idyllically seek the resolve for every fucking thing, right? And every perceived solution will cause some future problem. And that's like the cycle of the ages, you know? Yeah, so it's really interesting to witness right now. Like the longest cycle of the planets that we have present in this chart is the Pluto cycle. So before Pluto was in Aquarius, it was in Capricorn, you know? And before it was in Capricorn, it was in Scorpio. And before it was in Scorpio, it was in Libra. And as it moved through each of these spaces, there was a certain shift and cycle that occurred in how we look at death and rebirth process. And that's happening on an even greater scale with the Kali Yugas. So when people say that we're in the age of Aquarius, that's not Pluto moving into Aquarius. That's where is the spring equinox occurring due to the wobble of the earth. The spring equinox on the horizon will occur in front of a constellation. So right now it's Aquarius, but before that it was Pisces, and before that it was Aries, and before that it was Taurus. And what happened during this 2400-year cycle of Taurus is agriculture. And what happened during this 2400-degree cycle of, or year cycle of Aries, was fire, the cultivation of fire. And then Pisces, the way that we've irrigated the water and the pipelines and redirected with dams, the waterways and things like that. Aquarius is air. So we're looking at Wi-Fi, the airspace, flight. We're manipulating the airspace, the element of air. Communication is part of that, right? So there's really long cycles, and then there's medium cycles, and then there's short cycles. And the shortest cycle is the cycle of the sun and the moon. And so this cycle and this aspect happening between the sun and the moon and Pluto. We have an opportunity over the next moon cycle to set an intention that's going to affect our raw being and the way that we receive the environment around us when it comes to our death and rebirth cycle. So each one of you set a list of intentions and made your vision board. So I'm going to go around and pull up your individual chart, and we'll see where is 2 degrees of Leo and Pluto. And everyone will have a chance to show us their vision card and tell us a little about their intentions. And yeah, I just want to thank you guys for being here. And I thank everybody who is watching this recording. We're going to tune out and get into our individual chart readings. If you would like an individual chart reading, you can connect with me on Instagram, Facebook, text, phone call. If you close your eyes and fart once in each of the 4 directions, I might intuitively feel it, and I will contact you directly. Peace out. See. Oh, yes. There we go. Stop.